To the state troopers and the federal agencies, the Iron Cross Raiders MC were a problem to be contained, an organization defined by defiance and gasoline fumes. But in the forgotten stretches of the American Midwest, the small, dying towns where factories were shuttered and hope was a distant memory, the Raiders were something else entirely. They were the only constant, a shadow government built on a strict, unwavering code of protecting the forgotten. And at the heart of their legend stood a man known simply as Ghost. Ghost was an anomaly. Most outlaws seek the roar of the engine and the open road. Ghost sought silence. He was the chapter's sergeant-at-arms, a man of terrifying capability, but profoundly quiet demeanor. He earned his moniker not just because of his preference for stealth, but because of a devastating motorcycle accident years ago that left him with severe facial scarring, often hidden beneath a bandana, making him seem like a spectral figure moving through the daylight. His honor, however, was clearer and cleaner than any man in a suit. The Raiders' territory bordered the desolate stretch known as the Dust Bowl Pines, a vast, economically starved region where people had few resources and fewer options. This poverty attracted parasites, and lately, the worst kind, a corporate entity named Apex Holdings, run by a ruthless speculator named Thomas Vance. Vance wasn't running drugs or guns, he was running an even colder game, water theft. Apex Holdings was systematically buying up the last remaining viable farmlands and, under cover of legal obfuscation, draining the underground aquifers that fed the wells of the entire surrounding community. Vance planned to sell the water rights to a distant city, leaving the local populace, hundreds of families, elderly and children, high and dry in a drought-prone area. The local courts, crippled by Apex's endless legal maneuvering and deep pockets, were useless. The state regulators moved slower than a snail in winter. The people were desperate. The plea reached the Raiders not as a formal petition, but as a silent, desperate call for help from a local farmer, an elderly woman named Martha, whose family had worked the land for 3 generations. Apex's mercenaries, private security guards armed like a small army, paid to intimidate and destroy, had cut off her main water supply and bulldozed her access road. Martha's grandson, a boy named Leo, had to walk 5 miles every day just to bring back 2 gallons of potable water. When Martha presented her case to Ghost, she didn't ask for revenge, she asked for road justice, a correction to an injustice the system had refused to address. Ghost, looking at the boy's exhausted, dusty face, saw the absolute failure of modern society. He saw the code demanding action. Apex doesn't understand the ground rules of this territory, Ghost told the chapter president. A man can take your money, a man can take your land, but water, that's life. You take that, you forfeit your right to breathe here. The president, a weary, pragmatic man named Iron, agreed but insisted on a plan that minimized the chapter's exposure. Ghost, this ain't a bar fight. This is corporate tyranny. We hit the source, we leave the proof. We don't start a war with the state over water. The target was Apex's central pumping station, a massive reinforced structure deep in the pines, guarded 24 hours a day. It was the nerve center of the entire theft operation, and if it was disabled and the pumps reversed, the aquifer could be saved. The plan was audacious and complex, relying entirely on Ghost's ability to operate unseen. Ghost didn't take a crew. He took only his customized silent cruiser, a bike meticulously maintained to run quieter than a whisper, and a single bag of gear. He rode out at midnight, disappearing into the dense, dark thicket of the pines, like the spectre he was named after. He navigated the perimeter with terrifying ease, moving past infrared sensors and armed patrols. He used the cover of the dense woods, relying on his intimate knowledge of the forgotten trails and his military-honed instincts. He wasn't a criminal in the typical sense. He was a highly disciplined operative applying lethal skills for moral purpose. He reached the main pumping station, a fortress of concrete and steel crawling with Vance's hired security. Ghost watched them for an hour, mapping their patrols, noting their complacency, their reliance on technology rather than vigilance. He saw an opening, a brief 2-minute window during the changing of the guard shift. Ghost timed his move to perfection. He breached the exterior fence with a specialized cutter, neutralized a surveillance camera with a precise shot from a silenced air rifle, and scaled the building's sheer wall using climbing gear, arriving silently on the rooftop. He was a shadow moving over the steel, the only sound the faint whisper of the wind. His objective was the central control room located on the 3rd floor. He rappelled down the side of the building, entering through a ventilation shaft he had meticulously scoped out in advance. Inside the shaft, the air was hot and thick, but he pushed forward, the need to protect the innocent outweighing the pain and discomfort. He was moments away from the control room, the entire future of the Dust Bowl Pines riding on his silent, determined push. He knew that once he started the shutdown and reversal sequence, the alarm would sound, and every mercenary would be on his tail. But the code demanded that the water flow. Ghost dropped silently from the ventilation shaft into the main control room. The single operator, a technician engrossed in a novel, never heard him. A quick, precise application of pressure to the carotid artery was all it took. The man slumped unconscious, non-lethally silenced. Ghost wasted no time, immediately moving to the central terminal. He was a master mechanic and engineer, skills honed not in a university, but in years of modifying engines and circumventing security systems. He rapidly began inputting the override codes he had spent weeks calculating, reversing the massive industrial pumps. The goal was not just to stop the theft, but to force the stolen water back into the parched aquifer, restoring life to the community. The moment the system accepted the command, every alarm in the complex erupted in a deafening, throbbing shriek. The lights in the room flashed red, and the massive pumps outside, which had been drawing water out, shuddered and slowly began to grind in reverse. The water was returning. The code was being fulfilled. Intruder. Control room. 3rd floor. Go, go, go. The shouts of the security forces filled the stairwells. Ghost had a minute, maybe less, before they breached the door. He didn't flee. He grabbed the emergency radio from the console and turned the volume to maximum, broadcasting his message on Apex's private frequency. Attention, all Apex personnel. This is Ghost of the Iron Cross Raiders. The water is going back where it belongs. This is the only warning. Leave the Pines or the Raiders will ensure you never see the sun rise again. Road justice has been served. He then pulled out his final tool, a small, focused packet of C4 explosive. He placed the charge precisely on the main circuit board of the control terminal, setting a short timer. He was not destroying the entire building. That would be an act of war he was instructed to avoid. But he was ensuring the central command system was vaporized, leaving Apex unable to restart the theft operation for weeks, giving the farmers a vital window of reprieve and the local authorities a chance to finally act. The security forces were pounding on the reinforced steel door, ready to breach. Ghost knew his path of retreat was cut off. He moved to the window, 3 stories above the concrete pad. This was his final calculated risk, the moment where the legend would be forged. He looked down, then back at the door, which was beginning to buckle under the assault. He triggered the explosive charges just as the door blew inward. The C4 detonated, not with a massive external blast, but with a fierce, directed concussion that obliterated the central console, turning the control room into a maelstrom of shrapnel and dust. The security forces, who had just breached the door, were thrown backward by the shockwave, disoriented and stunned. Ghost, using the deafening noise and the thick curtain of smoke and debris as cover, didn't use the window. He dropped through the hole created by the exploding console into the utility corridor below, relying on his precise knowledge of the building's infrastructure. He was injured by the proximity of the blast, his ribs screaming in protest, but alive. He fought his way through the maintenance tunnels, bypassing the panicked and scattered security teams who were now desperately trying to extinguish the fires and understand the destruction. He emerged near the main water tower, bleeding, exhausted, but carrying a sense of profound, quiet triumph. His bike, the quiet cruiser, was still hidden exactly where he left it. He mounted up, the engine starting with a soft, steady thrum. He paused for a final moment, looking back at the pumping station. The floodlights were flickering, the air filled with sirens, the police and fire departments finally responding to the sheer scale of the incident. He didn't stick around for the cleanup or the glory. That wasn't the way of the raiders. His duty was done. He had restored the water to the Dust Bowl pines. He had crushed the Apex operation without killing a single man who wasn't actively trying to kill him, and he had delivered a clear message. The Iron Cross Raiders protect this land. He rode his bike toward the distant, faint glow of the rising sun, back toward his chapter. When the police and the press scoured the scene, they found no trace of the intruder, only the catastrophic damage to the pumping controls, the recorded threat on the radio, and the irrefutable evidence that the water was once again flowing toward the desperate fields and wells of the community. The farmers rejoiced. The community was saved, and Apex Holdings, crippled and exposed, was forced to retreat. The legend of Ghost, the silent outlaw who never left, who fought corporate greed with fire and precision, was cemented not in the press, but in the grateful whispers of the saved. He was the invisible shield, the outlaw who chose the hard path of honor over easy survival. He was the justice that rode the wind.